Nearly 92 million tons of textile waste is created each year, and that number could grow up to 60% in 2030. That is alarming. Not only has it become a race to minimize clothing waste, sustainable fashion is probably here to stay, folks. So joining us now is Maydeen Morris-Dixon, crowned Fashion Magazine's most stylish thrifter of 2024. And honestly, like, you walked in and I went, this is incredible.
Thank
just
you.
what you're wearing in itself. And congratulations on such a beautiful title.
Thank you.
Because yes, you are this fashionable queen, but you're actually doing something that is so beautiful for our planet as
Definitely.
well. So Maydeen, first of all, let's talk about how thrifting is so important and why we should all be thrifting.
I believe we should all be thrifting, one, because it's important to try and save the environment.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, some of the statistics, it's crazy what
Scary.
fashion is doing to our environment. As well, I think thrifting is great for our youth.
Yeah.
Because it inspires them. And I think when they are able to navigate their own style, their confidence level increases, and your pocketbook.
And you're
it saves
honestly,
you.
and you're finding some incredible gems that people are, recycling.
Yes.
So for anyone who's never thrifted, because I really want to get to these amazing pieces around us, but for someone who has never thrifted before, what are like your top 3 tips on how you can thrift?
My top 3 tips are to follow some of the thrift stores on socials, and then also to whatever value packages they offer, to engage in that so that you can find out when they're having sales and things of that nature. Another tip is just when you go to the stores, try and hone in on what it is that feeds your soul and that feeds you, or what you're looking for, and just have fun with it.
Yeah, give yourself time.
Yes.
Patience.
Oh yeah.
Because grab a coffee, make a little afternoon out of it. Because my daughter and I do that sometimes. We just we're like, okay, next 2 hours, we're gonna look for some gems. But I feel like you have found some incredible gems. So let's quickly start with this dress. What is happening with this? Because it is screaming like couture to me.
It is, it is. So this dress is actually, my mom and I made this, and it's made of 35 ties that I found at a ton of thrift stores. 35 ties
I love
from a
the
thrift
Disney
store.
characters
Yes, me too.
in here. There's so many different colors and patterns. When you put this on, people are probably like, who are you wearing?
I'm actually going to wear it to Fashion Art Toronto. Yeah.
I love that. Now let's talk about some of the accessories that you've also brought in, because it's not just clothing, but girl, I got my eyes on those shoes. Those shoes right there. Bring those closer. What is happening here? So it's not just clothing, but you can also find some designer goods. Like these are Louboutins right here.
These are Louboutins, $18. And they're my size, so you cannot.
Oh, that was my next question. I was like, what size are they?
Cannot.
Do you take e-transfers?
I might consider.
That is amazing. But can we also talk about this hat that you found? Because listen, Cowboy Carter,
just recently,
Beyonce is bringing that whole vibe back.
I haven't even had a chance to clean it up, but it's a denim cap with all kinds of vintage pins on there, and I found this at our local thrift store.
This is amazing.
All Canadian little pins on there.
You can't, even if you started collecting pins, you're not going to get the type of history that you're getting with this as well.
Exactly.
Oh, I love
so
this. Okay, now
amazing.
let's look at some of these pieces that you have in here. My jaw is on the floor. I'm having a hard time picking it up because I can't believe, look at this skirt, you guys.
Perfect for spring.
Come on.
And you can actually pair it with something like this, which is just a take on a regular button down, but it's like asymmetrical. So if you pair these two, like, that would be amazing.
So Maydeen, one of the things that I noticed on your Instagram as well, which don't worry, I will give you her handle so you can follow her, but some of the stuff you find in these thrift stores, they still have tags on them.
Yes.
So not everything has actually even been used.
No, definitely not.
Look at this. Look as
made in India, 100% silk.
Stop.
Gorgeous. So for a formal event,
how much would something like this be?
I think I only paid $25 for this. Probably not even.
Oh my gosh.
Gorgeous, right?
I'm wasting so much money. What is happening?
And this is silk as well, made in India, hand done. Both of these hand beaded. So you can't go wrong with the pricing.
So when you go to these thrift stores, first of all,
This
Tell
is
us
silk
a
as
little
well.
bit. Look, okay, look at this. Jones,
So
New
part
York
of sustainable,
set.
yeah, exactly. A part of sustainable. This can no longer fit me, so I'm saving it for my daughter, which is a part of being sustainable, right? So it's a silk suit.
The shoot that you did for Fashion Magazine, I
This
noticed
was
you
in
wore
there.
this. Come on.
Right. So someone would have discarded this because this is bigger than my size, right? But this is what I paired with it in the magazine, just for the tassel. So it's a little bit of masculine and feminine, and that's what I did with this outfit for.
And you know what? A lot of people don't realize you don't have to spend a lot to
No.
look fashionable.
No, you don't.
Just go look at this article done by Fashion Magazine. You will look at Madine's outfits, and I was like, and I believe you're wearing this suit.
This is in there as well.
First of all, look at this tuxedo jacket. Like this, you can't even find something like this in actual stores right now.
Exactly.
This is an incredible collection that you have here. And
this is a great piece as well.
Happy thrifting, everyone. I do want to pass along your Instagram handle.
Oh, great.
Curated Style by Madine. Go and follow her. She will give you more tips on how we can all thrift. We can all contribute to saving this planet and getting away from that alarming number that I just said.
Yes.
Because when you can have finds like this, why wouldn't you want to? Can we go on a little coffee date on a thrifting day?
Yes, let's.
Okay, help me find some Louboutins.
I will.
Okay.
I'll try.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day,
everyone.
Peter.
Well, Rock Band Kansas is hitting a milestone this year, celebrating 50 years on the road. And while members, of course, have come and gone, their hits remain well known today. I spoke with lead singer Ronnie Platt for a look at what fans have in store for their stops in Toronto and Rochester.
It's been going fantastic, and the schedule just keeps increasing by the day. We must be doing something right because people love this show. We love performing it. We've been having a great time, and we are just hitting the stops continually.
Like, I know you're not an original member of the band, but you still have some original members. Do any of them believe that Kansas is still such a big thing more than 5 decades later?
You know, Phil and Rich, Phil Leehart, original drummer, who's been on a little bit of a hiatus now, and Rich, who's been there from the very beginning. It's really interesting to talk to them, you know, to hear what the band went through 50 years. Yeah. And to have the band be doing so well right now is just amazing. I think they're actually, they might be a little surprised themselves.
Yeah, but it's a pleasant surprise for sure. So let's talk about this tour. It's a fork in the road. You're playing 2-hour shows. Are they any different? If someone hasn't seen, you know, Kansas in the last decade or two, what would they see differently this time around?
Oh, you're going to see a high energy, just music filled show. We hit everything from the very first album to the last album, The Absence of Presence, and just it's been fantastic. And the music is so full. Of course, we've got some special things coming up, but it's just great. And you're going to see a high energy show and really a good tasting of Kansas through the years, from the very first album to the last one. Yeah, and we try to give everyone a good taste of just what the band went through. You know, of course, you've got Leftoverture and Point of No Return being huge albums, but just a good sampling of the different types of music Kansas hit through the years.
Now, the Kansas catalog is amazing. And Ronnie, you know, I want to talk to you about the fact, you know, you were a truck driver before you started becoming a singer in a rock band and joined Kansas. Did you listen to Kansas when you were a truck driver? Like, what was your experience with Kansas before you joined Kansas?
Oh, gosh, I was listening to Kansas long before I was a truck driver. I remember when Leftoverture came out, and I bought the album and played it to death. Went back and bought the earlier albums, and you know, builds character driving a truck around the city of Chicago. Mm-hmm. So, but no, I've always been a Kansas fan, and always been in a band, even while I was driving a truck for 25 years plus.
And Ronnie, before I let you go, I just want to talk to you about the state of music in general now. You know, Taylor Swift recently dropped a double album overnight. It goes instantly to streaming services. People stay up for it. I mean, Kansas was putting stuff out on vinyl. People had to line up for it, etc. Like the evolution of music and, you know, bands making so much emphasis now on touring. How do you sort of see this whole industry evolving?
Boy, that's a tough one because, you know, of course, with the internet, how things changed and people getting their music digitally now instead of going to the record store and buying that, you know, that big vinyl album, which to me back in the day, that was a treat to get that tangible product, you know, and see the pictures and read the liner notes and read about the band. And I think that's something that's missing now. But, you know, of course, in this digital world, you know, everything becomes a lot more available to everyone.
Yeah.
So it's how you weigh things out. You know, there's good things and bad things about both ends.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, Carry On My Wayward Son, we'll let you go. Ronnie Platt, good to talk to you. We'll see you here in Toronto May the 4th. Great to see you.
May 4th, can't wait. Love everyone in Toronto. What a beautiful city. Always enjoy being there.
Okay, lacrosse fans, get ready for this. The Toronto Rock gearing up for the National Lacrosse League's playoff, the NNL playoffs. The number 1 seed Toronto Rock, our hometown team, taking on Rochester this Saturday at First Ontario Centre in Hamilton. Joining us now, players Mitch Desnew and Chris Boucher. Welcome to CP24 Breakfast. Let me just say this right off the top. Good luck on Saturday because this is a do-or-die game. The format for the NNL playoffs, really wild. Mitch, let's talk about, you had an amazing season this season, so you got to feel good going into this game against Rochester.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. You know, we had a game against them last week. They snuck into the playoffs, and they're going to be hungry, so we're just going to have to hold our ground.
I'm sure they will. And Mitch, talk to us about the strategy going into one game do or die. How does that change things rather than a best-of-3 series?
Yeah, I mean, the intensity's high. Like, we had a great season coming into it, and it all comes down to this one game now. So I think we just got to focus on executing every shift out there, and yeah, let the cards fall where they may.
So let's talk about, you know, let's show the people a little bit about what you do here, because some people may not, they should be familiar with our, you know, other national pastime here, but you know, lacrosse is a pretty intense sport, somewhat difficult. How much do you guys practice? How much do you get into the throwing the ball back and forth like you've been doing on the tees to break? And let's do a little now.
Yeah, I know we're practicing, you know, once, twice a week, games on the weekend, but as a kid, you got to have your stick in your hand the whole time.
Okay, get me into this.
Here we go.
All right.
There you go.
I got that.
You're natural.
I don't know how to throw. Okay, the throw could be a challenge.
Get
so
up
what's
high.
the trick?
Get it up high a little more.
A little higher. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, coming over here.
We say, like,
Sorry,
when you're
okay.
teaching kids, like, hands by your ears.
I see a lot of wrist movement here.
That's just to keep the ball in, so it
I'm
doesn't do
definitely
that.
not going to be called in if you needed a little bit of help here. Okay,
There you go.
What people may not know about you, Mitch, of course, is that you are actually potentially going to be a doctor. You're working on a PhD. You want to be like a research scientist. How does that combine with lacrosse? Sorry, I'm playing a little tennis here.
Yeah, so I'm an MD PhD candidate at University of Toronto. I started medical school. Now I'm doing my research in neuroscience at Sick Kids. And as I finish that, I'll be back to clinical work and then eventually combine the two as a career moving forward.
That is amazing, unlike my skills here. And Chris, what about you? What do you do off the lacrosse field?
I am not a doctor.
Okay.
I am, oh no.
I am not a lacrosse player.
You're good
am
at
an
this
account
ball.
executive at a software company, tech sales.
Yeah. Now, what's that like, combining a job with a professional sporting career? Because that's somewhat uncommon.
It's definitely unique. I personally think it shows a lot of, you know, testament and will to the game that we love to play. Getting up early, going to work, and leaving work a little early.
Yeah.
Maybe not making your bosses so happy all the time, so you can make it to games and stuff and practice on the weekend. But yeah, it's something that we're just all used to.
But
I think of it as, you know, college athletes, high school athletes.
Right.
You're playing, and and studying all the time. So it's kind of similar to that.
Right. Now, you guys are both, humble guys, I can tell this, but let's be honest about the season the Rock had. 15 wins, your best season, one of the best seasons in NL history. You've got to feel good about, I would assume, your chances. I'm just going to try to bash it around a little bit, about your chances for Saturday night. Like Rochester, like you said, snuck into the playoffs here.
Yeah. We all kind of follow the same mantra of,
right.
The season was the season. We're happy with it. That was just all 7 months of prep work.
I'm going to try something here. Oh, that did not work. Sorry about that. I thought I would try to bounce it off the wall.
We were making side bets whether or not someone was going to beam a window, but there you go.
Thank you. Okay, so, and let's talk about this here. So, when it comes to the playoffs here, you've been to the playoffs before. You know what the atmosphere is going to be like. The fans at Toronto Rock games, I find the atmosphere is so electric. Do you feel as players you get much more of a charge out of that hometown crowd when you're, especially when the intensity level goes up that much more?
Absolutely. Like last home game, it was actually against Rochester. We had our fan appreciation night, biggest crowd of the year, and they're just out there screaming and yelling. Yeah, it gives you a little extra in the tank there.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And do you ever look ahead, or do you just take it game at a time? You don't look ahead to because again, with that season that you had, I'm kind of thinking you got to be the favorites.
Honestly, shift at a time.
Shift at a time.
Not even game at a time, I think.
Yeah.
After the season, you kind of think of it, you need 5 more wins to win the championship,
right.
But can't get 5 if you don't get this first one, since it's a 1-game knockout. So we're really excited.
Okay, well listen, thanks for coming in and showing me a little bit about how to play lacrosse. Clearly I've failed as a Canadian. I need quite a bit of work as well.
What do you think about this?
Peter and I started selling property in the bridle path years ago by knocking on doors. But now, when people want to sell in the bridle path, they come knocking on our door.
You know who used to rent this house? Mick Jagger.
Really?
Well, if you didn't already get a hint there, Lux Listings Toronto is a show that looks at the high stakes of luxury real estate in the GTA and what the ultra-rich are looking for when they're looking for homes. So joining us now, the stars of the show, Peter and Paige Torkin and Brett Stark. Thanks for all of you being here this morning. I know your show dropped at 3 a.m. on Prime, so you must be all very excited this morning.
Very excited.
Brett, let's start with you, though. In terms of this program here, what's it like to get an opportunity to showcase Toronto luxury real estate? Because we've seen it from L.A., New York, etc.
It's a dream, and thank you for asking that, because so many people think that luxury real estate doesn't exist in Toronto like it does in LA or Miami or New York, but it does, and it does at such a grand scale. It's just that Canadians, we're more humble and we don't like to show off, but it is here, and now we get to expose it to the whole world.
Yeah, so Paige, what's it like then to be able to show off, to pick up on Peter's point, the idea that, Toronto does have some incredible luxury real estate, and I mean, we've certainly seen how the Toronto market has really exploded over the last 5 to 10 years.
So for us to be on this platform and showcase it to the world, it was an honor. It was challenging to decide whether we should do it or not. We walked on the street and talked to each other when we decided to do it, and now that it's out today, we're so proud and excited.
Yeah, and I wonder, Peter, the introduction there is really, it tells your story about, knocking on doors, initially trying to sell homes, now people come knocking on your doors. This must be almost as much a great opportunity to expose Toronto, but also it tells your story of the success you've earned over those years. That must feel pretty good inside.
Absolutely. First of all, Rome wasn't built in one day, okay? So we actually worked extremely hard. And real estate is not a sprint. I always say it's a marathon game. So you have to establish yourself over time and get to the success level that you look for, but it takes time to establish those roots.
Brett, what is different about luxury real estate that probably a majority of people watching this morning just can't understand or get into? I mean, we talk a lot about interest rates on this show because it's so key. Is that really a factor when it comes to buying luxury real estate?
It can be or it can't be, but the big difference is the people, and a lot of times it's actually more relaxed. People are buying their forever home that they've worked their entire life for, not just for them, but for their family and their family's family. So sometimes it can be a really uplifting experience.
Now, that's pretty interesting, right? That idea of getting that forever home and with the accoutrements that come with it. We looked at that King City show home, that prize home. I'm sure you were watching, G segments this morning. What is different, Paige, about the Toronto luxury market that perhaps distinguishes itself from the New Yorks, the LAs, etc.?
you're dealing with affluent people, you're dealing with investors, and some foreign buyers that want to buy like luxury properties in Toronto. And realistically, because of that reason, it's not moving as fast as like regular market. But that makes Toronto very demanding for those people as well at the same time.
So I'm curious, because there's probably an opportunity cost in terms of, shooting the show versus doing your full-time real estate kind of job here. How did you find that balance? Because shooting the show adds a whole bunch more work to you.
It was very, very hard.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Paige and I, we spoke. We had like 3 full-time jobs at the same time.
Right.
So we were running the team, running the brokerage, running the show, running our own business, making sure our clients are happy, and delivering white glove service. So it's challenging, but you know what? Challenging times always make you much more stronger, much more perseverance, and the outcome is shown over here right now.
What was it like, Paige, to have the cameras? You've probably never done your job in front of cameras before. How did that change things, or how was it different?
Funny you asked that question, because as realtors, we are in front of our phone and doing things like that. So we thought it's very easy. It's the same thing. You just show up, show around the house, and leave. No, 14, 15 hours a day. It was really, really challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a challenge.
But I'm sure it was a fun challenge as well.
Yes.
And Brett, you probably had makeup put on, all those kind of things. There's that production element that, like Paige was saying, you do a little bit of video, but it's next level, isn't it, when it's television like this?
You know what I found out, and I didn't realize, is how heavy makeup is on the face. Now I understand all those commercials I've been seeing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. It certainly is, and I can attest to that as well. Well, listen, good luck with the show. It drops today on Prime Video.
So much.
Lux Living Toronto.
Lux Listings.
Lux Listings Toronto. Pardon me, I didn't have it right in front of me on the teleprompter, so I blew that.
Okay.
Exactly. That's why we've got you. Good luck with this. Maybe we'll see a season 2
it's
as well.
On today.
on
Watch it,
Prime
everybody.
Video. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Have
seeing
fun
all of
with
you.
it.
Quick break here on Breakfast. Back with your headlines right after this.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Come on.
I want to go to the party, have a glass of champagne. Show me the house fast, and then we can go, okay?
Okay, you want $1 million tour?
Yes,
Let's
yes,
go.
fast.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about some big screen and little screen films and movies this weekend out. Richard Krause joins us, host of the Last Call podcast and resident film critic. Richard, good to see you this Friday. How are you?
Good to see you, Nick. I'm great, thanks.
Good stuff. Okay, talk to us about Challengers. I understand you've given that 4 stars, and coming from you, that's a pretty good rating and review.
It's a pretty good movie. Challenger stars Zendaya in what she is calling her first adult role. Of course, we first saw her as a Disney star, then on to Euphoria. She's in Dune. This movie marks her first lead role in a film as well. And when we first meet her, she's an 18-year-old tennis prodigy who's about to turn pro and probably become one of the world's biggest sports stars. On the sidelines, just slightly, are 2 guys played by Josh O'Connor. We know him as the young Prince Charles from The Crown, and Mike Baste, who was in West Side Story. They are very good friends. She kind of comes between them a little bit. It becomes a bit of a love triangle as we zip to and fro between their teen years, their 20s, and then ultimately their 30s. And this is a movie that's all about relationships. It's about a relationship with the game. It's about relationship with one another. It's about the relationship with winning and losing between these 3 very competitive people. And I'm making it sound much more serious than it actually is. This is a really flirty, indulgent, in all the best way kind of movies with great performances from all 3 leads. This is a big recommend for me. 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, when I see Richard Krause giving it 4 stars, I think that's when I'm definitely putting on my list. And plus, I'm a tennis guy, so it's sort of a 2 for 2.
There you go.
All right, Richard, let's also talk about the feature film debut from Caitlin Cronenberg. She was talking to Jennifer a couple of weeks ago here. Humane. This is a really interesting sounding movie.
Yeah, it's a wild idea for a film. So it's set 5, 10, 15 years in the future from now. And it's at a time when the climate crisis has completely destroyed most of the crops on Earth. Fish can't stay alive in the sea. So there's a food crisis. And the world government has come up with this idea. Every family puts up 1 or 2 people to be euthanized, and eventually the population will shrink to a point where everyone can have access to food. So cut to a wealthy family. The father, played by Peter Gallagher, says, you know what, I'm ready. I've had a great life. I'll volunteer. And his wife also decides to volunteer. When the day comes, though, she disappears. And when the great Enrico Colantoni, playing Bob the Exterminator, shows up at the door and is told there's only one person who's going to be taken away, he says, but I'm contracted to take 2 away. So the rest of you figure out who it's going to be, and I'll be back in 2 hours to take another one. Whoa. And so it's a dark, dark, dark comedy about what happens with family relationships. I'm describing it as a little bit of Who Met or Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf with Step Brothers, kind of all thrown together. Bit of slapstick in here, but it's good stuff, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's in theaters and on VOD this weekend.
Never thought I'd heard those two movies sort of described in the same sentence, but hey, that's what you get from Richard Krause. All right, Conan O'Brien Must Go. I mean, he's gone before, but now it's out on Crave, sort of.
Yeah, I love this show. Conan O'Brien Must Go. There's only 4 episodes, and if you've been listening to his podcast, you'll know that. Yeah, so you'll know that he's got 2 podcasts. Conan O'Brien Needs a Fan. Is the one where he just takes people from around the world, random people, talks to them, and they ask him questions, and they get to know one another a little bit. Well, here he goes and visits random fans without telling them he's coming, and he goes all over the world, and it's fascinating to see their reactions, to see his take on what happens when he's in Norway or Thailand or Ireland, wherever he might be. It's a funny show. Conan O'Brien, if you're a fan of his silly humor, and I certainly am, I think you'll really enjoy this. Conan O'Brien Must Go, and it's on Crave right now.
Yeah, it really blew out of that podcast, and the podcast is hysterical as well. Conan, I think, at his finest, really, because he's sort of unscripted and, no limits. In the meantime, really quickly, we got to talk about this Amazon Prime apocalyptic series, Fallout. Walton Goggins, love him too.
Well, here's the thing. Walton Goggins should be a superstar, given the kind of work he's done. He can do drama. He can do comedy, like The Righteous Gemstones. Here, he stars in Take Off on one of the greatest video games of all time. And what has essentially happened is something terrible happened 2 years in the past. And the people who survived, who have been living in relative luxury, are now put back into the hellish landscape of the apocalyptic world that they left behind. And they have to figure out how to survive. Watch this for any number of reasons. It's smart, it's funny, it's action-packed, but watch it for Walton Goggins and put him on your IMDb favorites list, because he is truly, truly great. Fallout, and it's on Prime Video right now.
He is already on mine. Vice Principals is what sold me on him there. Richard Krause, always appreciate this. Yeah, we'll talk soon. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Talk to you soon, then.